what's up guys? Welcome to another video. So today we've got an extra special treat. If you'll notice, I'm sitting on the wrong, or I guess right side of the car, because this is John here, and this is his 1990 Nissan Skyline R32 GTS-t Type M, right?
Yep.
That was a mouthful. But so yeah, this is the first right-hand drive car I've ever been in. It's the first Skyline I've ever been in. And this is a car that, I've lusted after in GTR form, of course, ever since, I was a little kid. It's a Gran Turismo favorite. It was famous in Initial D. First of all, I mean, we're in the US, yet you have this car. So I understand that these cars recently became 25 years old and therefore legal to import, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, tell me about your car and how you got it.
Well, I imported it from Japan. Instead of going through your typical route of going and importing it and purchasing it from an auction, instead I went and purchased it from a dealership in Japan. I found an ad online, contacted them about it, told them I wanted it. They set up all the paperwork, they go through all the fees, they basically do everything for you on your side in Japan, and you just need to get an importer here to go and pick up the vehicle from the port and take care of everything for you, and then you'll get it. The vehicle, I only paid around $7 for the vehicle, and then of course there was some importing fees included with it. All the previous mods done to the car was done by the previous owner. I've only done coilovers, put new tires, and just maintenance on the vehicle, but just replacing fuel lines, vacuum lines, and whatnot. For the future though, I plan on swapping in an RB25 and doing some more power mods to help it out, but in the end I just want to keep it stock, just retain the R32 look and just enjoy what I have.
So for those of you guys who don't know, this car, since it is a GTS-t, that means it's not all-wheel drive. It's purely rear-wheel drive. It has, since it is a Type M, it does have bigger four-pot front brakes, right? 2-pot rear brakes. It's got the RB20 motor, which crazily enough, the first time I learned about this, it's a 2-liter inline six. So exactly. How often do you see a 2-liter 6-cylinder anywhere? And it's got a turbo, of course. Of course, the GTR came with the RB26. This one makes about, I think, 212 or so horsepower at the crank. The mods you put on it, you're looking at what?
Probably around 230 for sure.
230. And the car only weighs like 2,800 pounds, right?
Yeah, it's pretty light.
Which is crazy because usually when you think of Skyline, like GTR, anything from like the R32 up to the R35, you think like, yeah, that's Godzilla. It's a pretty big, bulky, heavy car. But yet this car at 2,800 pounds weighs about the same as an S2000.
Exactly.
Which is pretty mind-blowing. And with 230 horsepower at the crank, it's got roughly the same power as an S2000 too. So you said you paid $7,000 for the car itself, and then...
There's importing fees you're going to pay for the shipping. There's also there's fees including in Japan. They have to do something about radiation. They have to inspect the car for radiation and other things. And then there's also, once you get it here, if you get it shipped in a container, there's a possibility your container might get X-rayed. And if you get X-rayed and everything, there's an additional fee on top of that. You don't know. It's completely random if your container gets picked. And so roughly you're looking around $2,500 on top of whatever you're going to pay.
So all in to get the car delivered from Japan to your house was about a little under $10,000.
Basically, exactly.
And you've also put some work into, fixing it up and things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so you said like in terms of the mileage, this has 223,000 kilometers on it.
Yes.
But when you bought it,
it was advertised at 86,000 kilometers.
So what the hell happened there?
So when the ad and everything states that it has 86,000, when I get the car here and brought it, and I got it here in the U.S. and I look at the speedometer, I can see like there's 219,000 that was on it. I was like, that's not right. Well, I went and contacted the dealership, and they stated that before they had exported the vehicle out of here, that they had the speedometer broke and that they had to swap the clusters. Well, as you may know, this speedometer works by a cable that runs through the transmission, so you just have to replace the cable. So I knew that wasn't true, but when you pop the hood, you can see the sticker when the last time the timing belt was changed, and it was changed at 175 kilometers.
So something fishy was happening with that
Something
company,
definitely was fishy was going on. So Japan-partner, yeah, you're up to no good.
But you told me earlier that right now you're just gonna deal with it because going through the legal hassle of going into Japan and everything is not worth it.
Yeah,
right?
the fees that are going to be going through it is just going to cost too much. And I love the vehicle. I'm going to do an engine swap in the end, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah. So cool. This is gonna be this is probably the most excited I've been to review a car in a long time. It's one of those like bucket list items that I'm about to check off.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, let's take it for a drive. All right, so on the wrong side of the car, shifting with my left hand, but the pedal placement's the same as a left-hand drive car. The only difference is on the steering wheel is the turn signal stock's on the right side too, but otherwise it's not too bad so far. So reverse. Oh god, oncoming car. Gotta stay really far to the right. Yeah, I have really bad depth perception for the left side.
Oh, I'll let you know if anything.
So straight away, other than the fact that it's a right-hand drive car, it's super easy to drive. Steering is very light, hydraulically assisted. Shifter feels really nice and tight for a 26-year-old car now? Yeah.
Exactly.
Pedal layout's perfect for heel and toe. The brake and the gas are especially close together, which is nice. Visibility's great as well. It's pretty characteristic of 20-plus-year-old cars. They have a very wide, expansive greenhouse, so it's very easy to see 360 degrees.
The only issue I've ran into while driving is since all the steering wheels are on the left-hand side and you're driving on the opposite side with the steering wheel, it makes it hard merging onto the freeway.
Yeah,
that's the only challenge.
That
especially with the brown tint that the car has.
Yeah.
Has that bronze rear back window tint. It makes it really challenging to see.
Yeah, but otherwise, like, the car feels remarkably well put together, well engineered for something that's so old. Older than I am.
I initially wanted to purchase this car and create it and turn it into a drift car, but once I started to realize how much parts were to import them in, like new fenders or a new door, just so happened if I destroy a door, it was just going to cost an arm and a leg, and so I went a different route, just decided to use my 240 for that instead and not this car.
Like, parts for the engine are relatively cheap and easy to come by, but then if you need to buy like the rubber sealing for the windows, it's like, I don't know, $400 a piece or something.
Very expensive, and a windshield for this car, they're super expensive.
Yeah, so better not get any cracks in it.
Yeah.
Also, the engine is silky smooth. I've been driving Honda VTECs, for a few years now, and as fun as they are to rev out, they're definitely not the most refined engines at low RPMs, at least the 4 cylinders. This one, even at low RPMs, you can't really feel any vibration.
And then going back to when I purchased the vehicle too, the car came with all its maintenance logs from Nissan with the books that you receive from the factory. Every time they brought it into the dealership, I have it filled out with the mileage marks and everything with the car. So it has all its maintenance books with it too.
All 220,000 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in Japanese. I can't read any of it, but I know it's been to the dealership multiple times.
Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of people out there who rag on the non-GTR R32s, but why did you pick this?
I picked the GTS-t specifically because I wanted a drift car. Exactly. Yeah. I wanted to drift, and I knew the GTR is all-wheel drive, and I was going to have to deactivate the front wheel differential and everything, so I wasn't going to want to have to mess with that at all. So
they're like way more expensive.
Exactly. And then repairing the RB26, it seems like they have like a ton of issues, especially with the early generation model, the earlier RB26 motor.
Is the RB20 more reliable generally?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot more reliable, I would say, definitely.
Yeah, these gauges are so cool.
Oh yeah. It has a little control box here so you can adjust what the little light comes on after the oil pressure and all the temperature gauges and everything. And then it has a stepping gauge too. I really don't know how to use it and control it exactly, but there's a lot of different features you're able to set it and do for it, the tachometer, that is.
Okay. Why is there another tach gauge here, even though I can clearly see this one?
I don't know. The previous owner, maybe they were, I don't know. It makes me think of like the early like Fast and Furious period.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just kind of useless. I really like the layout of this interior too. Like everything is facing the driver. As you can tell, the center console here is just slightly angled towards me.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of like, well, I guess it reminds me of all the early 90s Japanese sports cars. They were all kind of like very driver focused.
Especially the Supras.
Yeah, the Supras
they're all
kind of curved.
tilted.
Yeah. The only really tricky part that is going to take a lot of getting used to is, of course, like figuring out my blind spots on the left side and like my depth perception.
The blind spots, it still gets me now. And
Yeah.
I've been driving the car for almost a year now.
Alright, so let's push it a little harder here and see how this thing really drives. Not too bad.
Oh no. Definitely you get used to it.
Brakes are very progressive, but a little soft. Great shifter. So cool. I feel like I'm like Keiichi Tsuchiya driving on the right side.
We just need some additional theme music.
Yeah. No, I might have to overlay some later.
Definitely a blast to drive.
I was not expecting the car to feel so light and communicative and just so tossable. I mean, every time I think of R32 GTR, you know, I think, yeah, it probably drives pretty good, but it's definitely gonna feel heavy and feel cumbersome in the corners. But this thing, being 2,800 pounds, same weight as an S2000 for God's sake, just the right amount of power. I think you said 230 at the crank?
Yeah, I believe so.
I feel like it feels like maybe a little more than that.
I haven't gotten a dyno. I'm trying to find a dyno day while I'm out here. So hopefully I can find something so I can put it onto the dyno and find out what the true numbers are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like 240, 250.
It is running stock boost too, so it's only running at, I believe, like 10 pounds right now.
Okay. You don't really get much power below about 3,000, but then, you know, 3,000, you know, the boost starts kicking in. 4,000, it's starting to come on a little stronger, and then by 5,000, it's like, you know, full bore. Like, man, it pulls hard all the way to 7 too.
Yeah, it does.
It's not like those little 4-cylinder turbos that, like, you get a ton of torque from like about 2 to 5,000, but then at 6,000 it just dies off. I hate those. This thing's a proper. This is the proper way a turbo motor should feel. Yeah, that is addicting, and it sounds glorious.
Oh yeah. And And since it has the Cusco upper control arms, it has a negative camber right now in the front also.
Yeah, I could see that. Pretty aggressive. Huh?
Yeah.
Like -3 maybe.
It's a -5 actually.
-5?
Yeah.
Wow. Your tires must be screaming.
I know. They are.
Yeah, the ride's not too great. I mean, coilovers with that much camber, it's definitely not going to be the greatest riding car. But at the same time, it's not too bad either. It feels about as compliant as a stock S2000, I want to say. I feel like I'm straight out of Fast and Furious right now.
Oh yeah, that's exactly whenever you pull into a car meets parking lot, you literally feel like Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
People just swarm around you, just like, it's insane. You feel like a mini celebrity when you drive this car. You just get thumbs up, people waving, honking, people asking, oh, is it hard to drive on the opposite side?
Yeah.
It's definitely an attention grabber. For under $10,000, I don't know any other car that you could get that just like, that so many people would flock around it.
I'll tell you what, I just bought an S2000 AP1. By the way, guys, yeah, I'll do some videos on that later. But that was $11,000.
Oh.
Now I'm like, shit, I did something wrong. I should have got one of these. I mean, as much as I love the S2000, I don't want to knock it at all, but this is just so much more interesting. I mean, I'm sure in Japan it's like whatever, but in the United States, this car it's a real special car to be in.
Yeah, and probably now in Canada, it's lost its wow factor now since they've had it for so long, so they don't even care about it that much. But
Yeah.
here in the U.S., it's definitely still a must-have car.
I think in 5 to 10 years, these cars, as you see more of them being imported, they won't be as unique. But right now, I mean, the fact that you have one right now, I'm sure you get a lot of attention with this thing.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Like when I go to the car meets, people tell me this is the first time they've ever seen one in person.
Yeah.
So it definitely gets a ton of attention, even though it's not a GTR, what everybody loves to see. It still gets the love.
I didn't know what to expect, coming into this. I was kind of expecting it to feel like a piece of shit because, I mean, no offense, but like, it's not a GTR.
Oh no.
And it's a 26-year-old car. But I should have known better because this car came out the same time pretty much the NSX came out, and obviously I love that car. But this is almost just as fun to drive as the NSX. So what are your future plans for this car?
I want to swap in an RB20 into it.
25?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. RB25 into it. And what I want to ultimately do is send the lower end to Raw Brokerage and have them rebuild the bottom end so it can handle like 500 horsepower.
Ooh.
And then completely, I want to have a solid 500 horsepower and then be able to crank it up with more. But,
Well, the day you get 500 horsepower, hit me up.
oh, definitely. You will. You can definitely do a test drive of it then and see how much of a difference.
I can't even imagine. All right, well, thank you, John, again for letting me drive your
thank you.
R32. I freaking love this car. I want one. I want one so bad now. And you know what I would do with it? I would probably daily it. As crazy as that is, I would just I would soak in all the attention. It's got a back seat. I mean, it's not the worst daily. Better daily than the NSX, power steering. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing how this build progresses. Keep me updated on what you do to it. And then, same thing with your LS3 240SX. That's going to be fun too. And thanks guys for watching. If you like my videos, please comment and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys next time.